Hello and welcome to this new video. In the previous videos, we implemented the session management system and therefore the matchmaking for player-hosted matches. From now on, we can start the process of starting the match and playing. What we are going to do in this video is to implement a readiness system. It means that the host cannot start the match if one or more clients in his lobby are not ready. So a system allowing clients to inform the host that they are ready to start the match. To start, we need to add a new button in the Home widget, which allows a client to inform the host that he is ready. To do this, duplicate the Start Match button and follow me. This button should only be visible if the player is a client and is in a hosted lobby. Set the default visibility of the button to hidden. In the event construct of the widget, we will implement the logic to make the button visible only to the client when he is in a host's lobby. Add a custom event which is used to refresh the UI, because we must check the visibility condition continuously. On the other hand, the Start Match button should be clickable only by the host. So, set the button enabled only if the code runs on a server. This also includes the standalone game. The Ready button is visible so if the code runs on a client and the number of players in game mode is greater than 1. On the other hand, if the code runs on a server, the Ready button is always hidden. In the event construct, we want to call the refresh UI event continuously. So we have to use a timer. Call the node setTimer by function name, then pass the name of the event as a parameter, and check the looping box. In fact, there is no need to check the number of players in game mode to set the visibility of the Ready button, because if the code runs on a client, it means that we are not in a standalone or server mode. Run a test to verify the implementation. As you see, the Start button is active when we are in standalone mode, and the Ready button is hidden. Now try to join Player 1 session from Player 2. And voila, when the code runs on a client, the Ready button is visible, and not visible to the host. Also, the client cannot click on Start Match, but the host can. If the client leaves the lobby, then he returns to his initial state. So everything works as it should. Now we want to implement the logic when the client clicks the Ready button. The solution is to update the player readiness in his player controller, so the host can check it from the game mode. For this, we need to add a new function in the player controller interface. In the player controller interface, add a new function and name it setPlayerReadiness. This function must take as parameter a Boolean representing the client's readiness status. Return to the Home widget and call this function when the button is clicked. To pass the player's readiness state to this function, we must pass true if he is not ready, and false if he is ready. This way the client can change his state if he is ready. To do this, create a variable of type Boolean, and name it isPlayerReady. Check the value of this variable when the button is clicked. If it is true, we reset it to false, then we call the function. If it is false, we reset it to true. Then we call the function. I want to update the button background color according to the current state of the player. Just follow me. If the player is ready, I want to change the background color to green. If the player is not ready, I want to change the background color to black. Go to the Player Controller interface, add a new function and name it Get Player Readiness. It is a function that returns the readiness state of the player. It will normally be used by the game mode. Go to your player controller and implement both functions. Because the player controller runs on both the client and the server, we want to specify to this function to update the variable on the server. Then replicates it to client. To do this, add a custom event that runs on the server. Add a Boolean variable and name it isPlayerReady. Then set it replicated. Now implement the second function. Now go back to the Home widget and add the on-clicked event of the Start Match button. What we want to do here is just prepare the Start Match process. We are not going to implement it in this video, that will be for later. Only the host can start the match, for that we have to go through the game mode. So we have to add a function in the game mode interface. In the game mode interface, add a new function and name it Start Match. Go back into the widget and call this function. Now go to game mode and implement the function. In this video, we only want to check in the game mode that all the clients are ready before starting the match. The process of starting the match will be for later. To do this, loop through the list of current player controllers. For each controller in the list, we want to check if the player is ready by calling the getPlayerReadiness function of the player controller interface. Be careful, we must exclude the host controller from this check, because the player readiness only concerns the clients. For now, I just want to display on the host screen the status of each client. Now run a test. As you see, if the host clicks on Start Match, nothing is displayed on the screen, because we have no clients at the moment. Create a session on Player 1 and join it from Player 2. Now the host has only one client. If Player 2 clicks on Ready button, the host should have true message showing on screen when he clicks on Start Match. If Player 2 clicks Ready button again, so he is not ready, the host should have a false message on his screen when he clicks Start Match. Now try to join the session from Player 3, so the host will have two clients. If the host clicks on Start Match, he will have two messages, true and false, because player 2 is ready and player 3 is not ready. Once player 3 is ready, the host should have two true messages. And there you have it, everything works as it should. I now want to collapse this implementation into a function that can return to me whether the host can start the match or not, depending on the readiness status of the players. But first, I want to change the text of the Ready button so that it is not ready if the player is not ready and ready otherwise, like that the player can easily know his status communicated to the server. In the Home widget, select the button text and create a binding. In the function created for binding, select the text according to the value of the isPlayerReady variable. Now go back to game mode and select the code, then collapse it into a function. Name this function f_can_startMatch. In this function, we must return true if all clients are ready, and false otherwise. If at least one client is not ready, then the return is false. If the loop completes, it means that all clients are ready. In this case, the return is true. Set the function pure. That's all for the Start Match implementation for this video, to be continued in the next videos. I now want to change the background color of the character widget when the client is ready. This way, other members can know his status, and therefore they can ask him to click ready via voice chat to start the game. Search for your character, then open its widget. Here I want to change the background color of the border bearing the player's name. So I want to make this border variable. In the widget graph, add a custom event which is used to update the color of the border background. Call the node setBrushColor from the border variable. Add the node's brush color as input to the custom event. Go back to the character blueprint, then promote the cast widget output to variable. Make this variable replicated. Go back to game mode, then add a new function and name it f_update character widgets for readiness. This function is used to change the brush color of widget for each character according to the readiness status of each client. Loop through the array of current player controllers. Then exclude the player controller of the host. The logic now is to get the readiness of each client from his player controller, then change the brush color using the spawned characters variable. select a color according to the value returned by the getPlayerReadiness node. I choose the color green if the player is ready, and black otherwise. Now that the function is ready, you need to find where it should be called. This function must be called in a loop via a timer, because clients can change their readiness state at any time, so the function must take these changes into account. Add a timer once the session is created, after defining the timer check for session updates. The reason for this choice is that it is useless to call the function if the host does not have a valid session. Promote the output to a variable so we can reset it later. Going back into the function again, we forgot to set the color if the player is not ready. There is one thing left to fix. In fact, with this implementation, the color change will be visible only for the host, because we call the custom event of the widget directly from the game mode. So the clients are not notified of this change. To fix this, we will use a multicast. So go to your character blueprint and add a custom event, then set the replication to multicast. In this event, call the widget event to update the color. Now go back to your game mode and call this multicast from the function. Now test the implementation. Create a session on player 1 and then join it from player 2 and 3. Once the players are in the lobby, click on Ready for Player 2. You will see that all the members of the lobby see that Player 2 is ready. Same for Player 3 when he is ready. Try to play with the player's readiness and see the results. And there you have it, everything works as it should. That's all for this video, see you in the next one.